Welcome back to Game Points. We have a very special treat live from the Superdome. He was covering Super Bowl 47 for sportsnetwork.com. You can also follow him on twitter.com/JFMcMullen. It's our buddy John McMullen. Hey, John, how you doing?
Doing well, Matt. Thanks for having me. Apologize for the noise in the background.
Not a problem, John. We appreciate your time. First of all, John, your thoughts on the game as a whole.
Well, I was like everyone else. It looked like it was over when the power outage happened. 28-6 game. Jacoby Jones had just, brought a kickback, 108 yards for the touchdown. San Francisco looked dead in the water, and for whatever reason, that outage certainly had an effect on the Ravens. It stunted their momentum. San Francisco came back. They were just relentless. Everything was going their way. And they had the ball inside the 5-yard line with under 2 minutes to go and just couldn't punch it in. So I think it was a very exciting game. It certainly looked a lot better at the end than it was going to look at halftime. So I think people certainly had to enjoy that ending. But, as a whole, Joe Flacco said it, the Ravens don't always do it the easiest way, but they're the Super Bowl champions today.
John, what the heck did you do during that 34-minute delay, and what was it like in there?
Well, I'll tell you, the worst part was, it's a very cool building when the air conditioner is on. You're almost chilly, and all of a sudden, the air conditioner went off, and it got really, really hot. And, for some bizarre reason, the Ravens cooled off, even though it was 90-some-odd degrees in the building. So it was the 49ers who heated up. It was definitely uncomfortable. Anytime something like this happens at an event like this, you have that kind of rustling through the crowd. They think, is there something wrong? Is there something serious going on? Fortunately, it was just a power outage, and I'm sure the NFL's not happy about it, but these kind of things happen. And, it gave them an extra opportunity to put some of those $3.8 million commercials, put more of those on.
Hey, John, what about what the announcers were saying here on the game we carried here on TSN 690? What about the fact that the Ravens players during that outage apparently were doing calisthenics, warming up, and that most of the Niners players, according to the radio broadcasters, were sitting around? Did you see some of that?
Well, I saw more Ravens definitely stretching than the 49ers. I tend to look at the skilled players because they're the ones who, have to run, and they're the ones susceptible to get those groin strains, the hamstring injuries, things like that. And pretty much those guys were all trying to keep loose and trying to keep things going their way. So, but that's so hard, to look at just from afar and say, well, there's more Baltimore players stretching and San Francisco's not taking it seriously. I think the 49ers were kind of shell-shocked that they were down 28-6, and they were just chomping at the bit to get back and try to get back in the game. And sure enough, they were able to do that pretty quickly.
John, did it shock you that the crowd seemed to be overwhelmingly Ravens fans, especially in light of the success and the rich history of the San Francisco 49ers?
I'll tell you, it shocked me a lot because, that one travel agency was sending me press releases all week telling me 109% more 49ers fans were traveling to New Orleans than Ravens fans. And if that's true, well, they were all out on Bourbon Street because in the building, the Baltimore fans were much more vocal than the 49er fans. And that wasn't just after they got the lead. That was before the game when they were doing the dueling chants. There were more Ravens fans there, or at least more vocal, let's put it that way. Maybe that's just an East Coast, West Coast thing because they were certainly loud.
Chatting with John McMullen from sportsnetwork.com. Check out the NFL coverage there tonight and tomorrow. JF McMullen on twitter.com to follow him there. We'll ask John one more question and let him go. John, what was the scene like with Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, all those guys on the field? I mean, was it sort of maybe a little different atmosphere than some of the other Super Bowls in terms of maybe seeing some of these guys never play again?
Well, we've actually seen it quite a bit recently. If you think about Jerome Bettis, he went out on top. Michael Strahan went out on top, and now Ray Lewis is going to be able to do it. after 17 seasons. I think this is his second Super Bowl championship. And I think about Jonathan Ogden getting voted in the Hall of Fame yesterday.
That's right.
Elected. And if you think about that first draft in Ravens history, they had 2 first-round picks, and Jonathan Ogden was the 4th pick, and then they picked Ray Lewis later in the first round. That might go down as the best first-round draft in NFL history because, obviously Ray Lewis will be joining Jonathan Ogden in 5 years from now, and you could argue they're both the best and second-best players in Ravens history. So it's been a weekend. This team kind of took on that team of destiny look probably against Denver, and just seems like everything fell their way except for the power outage. But everything other than that, with Ogden going in the Hall of Fame and Ray Lewis going out on top, it's certainly been a Baltimore weekend.
Do you think the PED rumors about Lewis are going to taint anything he accomplished today or over the last little while?
Well, there's some stories that are coming out about the guy who pointed the finger. He's not exactly the most reputable guy, and for some reason, and I've written about this before, for some reason, people don't take PEDs in football as seriously as they do in baseball. I'm not sure why. I don't understand it myself. I tend to brush it off simply for the matter of there's no way I can know who took PEDs and who didn't. So I'm not going to point fingers at certain players and act like a guardian for the game and act like I know who took this and who didn't take that. I just know Ray Lewis was a heck of a player for 17 years, and that's all I can go on.
John, obviously we're still quite a way from the kickoff of 2013 here, but in a year's time here, who do you think has a better chance to make it back to this point of the season, San Fran or Baltimore?
I'm sorry, it's loud here. I didn't get that one.
I just want to know, who do you think will make it back to this point next year at this time? Will it be San Fran or Baltimore?
Well, I'm writing about Colin Kaepernick right now, and I'm kind of putting, the fact that this was his 10th NFL start, and it's kind of unbelievable to think that a guy is making his 10th NFL start in the Super Bowl. And obviously he comes out on a losing effort, but he ended up throwing for 302 yards, and he rushed for over 60. So you're talking about a guy who had over 360 yards of total offense. And it was in a losing effort. He left some plays on the field. There's no question about it. But, it was kind of, if Colin Kaepernick is a stock, he's kind of like Apple. He might have a down tick here and there, but it's a hell of a stock to own, and he'll be back. So I don't think the 49ers are probably the most talented team in the NFL, and they came up a little bit short this time, but they'll certainly be back and be a contender for years to come.
John, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it. Safe travels.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.